Hello, everyone, and welcome to the SavvyCast. I'm so grateful that you're tuning in today, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening to the podcast. Today, we are going to talk about a fun topic and one of my favorite things that I have in my hand right now, coffee. I am joined by Dr. Charles Livingston. He is the CEO and co-founder of Lifeboost Coffee. It is currently the fastest growing coffee company in the United States. It is his mission as a chiropractic practitioner and a nutrition expert and a health and wellness expert to create the healthiest, cleanest, tastiest coffee in the world. And I can tell you, that is what I'm drinking. That is Zane's and my new favorite coffee. It's a super important topic, especially if it's something you put in your body every day. So welcome to the SavvyCast, Dr. Charles Livingston. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. I'm very happy to be here.
Well, Dr. Charles, I just want to start out by saying a perk of being married to Zane Torrance is I meet the most fascinating, successful people because of what he does. And I just want everyone to know how I found out about you and your coffee. It was through Zane, and he brought home some, and I'm going to hold this up. And for those of you watching, you can see this. My podcast listeners, you're just going to have to look back at the notes. But he brought home several of your fabulous coffees, and he took some to work. And it's everybody's new favorite coffee. I have never tasted coffee like this. It is as smooth as silk. Can you tell, and let me also say, Zane had stopped drinking coffee because he has GERD. Mm-hmm. Yes, he can now drink coffee. So can you tell everyone, can you just start by telling us the story from your journey into creating this and how it's different?
Yeah, absolutely. So I didn't start drinking coffee till I was in my 30s. I don't know. I thought it was, my experience with coffee before that was, the old school bitter type that my grandparents used to drink, and it smelled amazing. But whenever you taste it, I was like, oh, who can drink this? Yeah. But so I didn't even start drinking coffee. And, in my introduction to coffee was the foo-foo Starbucks drinks, full of sugar and all that to kind of cover over the flavor of coffee. Right. So that was my beginning. And I owned, at the time I owned a supplement company, and the small coffee farm in Nicaragua was taking my supplements somehow, and they absolutely loved it. And they contacted me and was like, hey, we want to put our supplements in your coffee. I'm like, this is a terrible idea. Don't do that. I was like, these are, because it was a liver detox supplement and that they were taking. And I was like, the herbs are way too bitter. It's not going to taste good. I was like, but I'm getting more interested in coffee and the health benefits. I would love to try your coffee. And they sent me some, and it was the best coffee I'd ever had. And so I talked with them. I was like, got super interested, just doing my research in the industry. And I found a kind of a gap in the industry for healthy coffee. And, at that time, the bulletproof craze was going on where they're putting the butter in the coffee and stuff. I got super fascinated by that and was being impacted by that, and saw some of the benefits of, adding, like a butter and healthy fats to your coffee. And so that kind of sucked me in. So I decided to, take this small coffee farm and create a business around it. And that's how we started. It was the best coffee I had ever had. And for the same reasons you mentioned, that it was just smooth as silk, and it's amazing. And yeah, I didn't find out till later, after probably like a year of just customers every single day saying the same exact thing that you and Zane were saying, that, it wasn't hurting your stomach and stuff, till I realized that how low acid the coffee was. And so I started to dig into that, and we figured it out. And it was just has to do with how it was grown, and just the purity and the ability to allow it to grow fully mature. And then on top of that, it was very clean, no mycotoxins, none of that stuff. We third-party tested to ensure all that. And so that's kind of how we started, and it just kind of grew from there.
Okay. Now that is fascinating on many levels, but in my mind, I'm thinking, how on earth do you just start a coffee company where you're being supplied from Nicaragua out of the United States, and it requires all of that, and you're number one in the United States? How does that happen? Like, take us from the bean to like our house where it arrives, because currently, correct me, it's all mail order.
Hmm.
Okay. So take us through the process of the farms to table.
Yeah. So the farms. So right now we have about four different roasters we source from all over Nicaragua. So we've grown quite a bit. So it's not just one single family farm. We have a bunch of family farms now. It literally started with just that one farm, and there we just spent the time to understand from bean to cup what it takes to make an absolutely great cup of coffee that is healthy and clean. Because coffee is right now in the US, it's the number one source of antioxidants. And I don't know if that's good or bad because
Wow.
I don't know if it means people aren't eating enough vegetables
Wow.
or that they just coffee's that high. And it's extremely high in polyphenols and chlorogenic acids and just antioxidants in general. So
Okay. May I ask you this? And I know as a chiropractic physician, you know this. Is this the same when you say polyphenols? Is that what's in wine, or is that a different?
yeah, wine is polyphenols. Yeah, it's
Okay. So I know it has resveratrol, but I know it's got, so
yeah.
you're
So it
saying,
doesn't, like, coffee doesn't have resveratrol in it. There's a bunch of different polyphenols. Resveratrol is a popular one that's found in.
okay.
Yeah.
So we can all feel good about drinking coffee as long as it's a healthy coffee that doesn't have a lot of additives or the chemicals. Can you tell us what we might not know about store-bought coffee, or some store-bought coffee?
Well, here's the deal with coffee. So it's just like any other industry. Coffee is the third most drank beverage in the entire world. Number one is water. Number two is tea. Number three is coffee.
Mm.
Being that you have to produce that large of amount, it
Mhm.
becomes a cash crop. So what do you do with cash crops in order to grow them and be able to make as much quantity as you do? Right? A lot of times we'll use pesticides and herbicides and stuff to protect your plants. You have to, create huge plantations of coffee farms, and that's grown unnaturally, I guess, because it's more like sun grown versus shade grown, which, the best types of coffee, in my opinion, are shade grown, elevation grown, high in the mountains, and allowed to grow to full maturity. So in order to produce a mass amount of coffee that you see everywhere, you have to cut corners, and you're focused on speed of growth. You're focused on all these other things. So you sacrifice quality for quantity, right?
Mhm.
So with that being said, it's one of those things where, there's a lot of great qualities with coffee that you can drink. Like I said, it's the number one source of antioxidants. But if you're drinking, non-organic, coffee that's grown in quantity over a higher quality, you're also going to be sacrificing some of those health benefits and increasing the toxic load on that, right? And
Mhm.
it's not to say that one cup is going to coffee with toxins and pesticides in it's going to hurt you. It's more the bioaccumulative effect over time. Kind of builds up in your body, and you don't know. Then all of a sudden, you hit 40 or 50, you've got stomach issues, you've got all these weird symptoms that you didn't have before. And it's just a culmination of, things that have built up over your lifetime. Your body's finally hit a threshold and your health starts to deteriorate, right? That's just with all foods. It's not just coffee. We're focused on coffee though, right?
Okay, that makes perfect sense. And Dr. Charles, I think that's something at least I have not thought about. Okay, this is something I do every day. I mean, every day, unless, I have to fast for blood work or whatever. And the thought of something you consume every single day, we call it a bioaccumulative effect.
Yeah.
That is something I think we all need to make sure that we're choosing the best quality. And just the fact that, from our personal experience, Zane does not have the effects after drinking Life Boost that he did, that made him quit drinking the regular coffee. Okay. Can you tell us, are there industry standards? Like if you produce anything that is shipped to someone's home or put on a store shelf, is there an industry standard or a regulation?
One thing I did here, because doing a lot of podcasts, is that, and like I'd have to dig up the research for this, but they say that a lot of times coffee that gets, because Europe is known for super strict standards with their nutrition, all across the board, right? And so coffee is included in that. And if coffee doesn't pass their regulations, a lot of time it's reverted back to the US. So I've heard that multiple times from multiple high-level coffee people. Don't quote me on that because I don't have the research in front of me right now to prove that, but that's just some of the things I've heard on multiple occasions. So yeah, I mean, and it's like I said, because quantity versus quality, if you're going for quantity, you're going to sacrifice quality. And the way that I view these type of things is, if it's something that I do a lot and I drink every day as a ritual, I want the absolute best for myself. And that's kind of the thought behind the brand, because when you eat and when you drink things and when you do things, it's like a lot of these guidelines are set for you to survive. It's not really set for you to thrive, right?
Yeah.
So you got to figure out, are you wanting to survive or you thrive? As I age, my goal is to thrive. I'm trying to optimize my body as much as possible so that my quality of life, like right now, I feel great like 99.9% of the time. And it's not just one single thing. It's like a bunch of these tiny things that add up, just like this, right? So quality, like I'm looking for quality. I'm looking on how I can, turn my coffee into a superfood, as well as making sure that the base of that, which is a coffee bean itself, is as pure as possible.
Okay. Well, I want to address how you turn your coffee into a superfood, because I know my daughter and her husband, they're CrossFit athletes, and they're very into, she's the nutritionist, and they're going to love this. And I can tell you are extremely fit. Zane told me that. He said he is very, very in shape. And that a lot of people want to know how to dress up your coffee. And I'll just jump in. Now, this is probably not but this is, I love, and I'm going to show, I think it's helpful for people to know the many ways you can enjoy coffee. We all know our morning cup. That's easy. That's simple to do. But I have fallen in love with cold brew for the afternoon. And I want you to share what you put your cold brew in. But if you have a French press, this is just a Bodum. This is the most popular French press you can buy. I already had this.
That is giant. I've never seen a French press.
It's ridiculous. I'm actually probably going to scale down because it takes up too much space in the fridge. It's huge. Yes. But anyway, I do cold brew, and I want to tell those listening who might be like I am, and I know there are people out there. I want to enjoy cold brew, but I cannot consume caffeine past noon, or I will be up all night long. So if that is you, I want you to listen to what you can get from Life Boost. Before I found this, I was scrambling to find a flavored coffee because I like my cold brew to be flavored. I have a flavored bean. Very, very hard. You can find one at Fresh Market, I believe, that's toasted coconut, but they are usually not selling that in decaf, occasionally. So finding number one, decaf, number two, flavored, and in the choice of bean or ground is very difficult unless you know about Life Boost. And I just want to show y'all some of my favorites. This is Creme Brulee decaf. It's what I'm currently drinking. It is fabulous. And the flavor is not artificial. It's so fabulous. And then this is toasted coconut decaf. And the way I enjoy it is I believe it's important that you have the nice insulated cup.
Absolutely.
It's just like you're not going to serve guests wine in a paper cup. Treat yourself like you would treat your guests. Have all of the nice accoutrements to make your coffee a better experience, because it's an experience. So I have the double wall thermal, larger, taller coffee thing. And Dr. Charles, what I do is I do half cold brew, and I do my cold brew pretty strong. And then I finish it with toasted coconut Califia Farms or vanilla almond milk. And then I was stirring in chocolate syrup, which I know that's a lot of sugar, but it's a lot better than a Frappuccino or a latte. But I found this super creamer.
Oh yeah.
I found it at Sprouts, and it's 0 sugar, nothing artificial. This is coconut mocha, and it's sweetened with monk fruit, and it's better than chocolate syrup.
Oh,
so I guess you would approve of this.
I do.
So, and it's fabulous. And not only is it better than anything I would buy at Starbucks, it is so delicious. And I don't get hungry for a few hours after I've had this. So that's my ritual. Can you share yours? Because I think you have a very different one that people who are super nutritious would want to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. The one thing that's super fascinating about coffee is that if you've noticed, it's become this medium to carry a lot of nutrients. You're seeing the mushroom coffees out there. You're seeing all people like brain coffee, like people were experimenting with all these different things. And after doing some research, it's a great medium to add nutrition to, and you can literally it starts, coffee itself, a good clean coffee, it's got so many nutrients in it anyway, and then you can just stack things on top of it. So one of the things that I'll add, so I love cold brew. It's one of my absolute favorites. And so I cold brew, like I'll drink cold brew. I do the opposite of you. I'll typically do a cold brew in the morning, and like one of our espressos or one of our, I'll French press in the afternoon, something like that. And
what do you brew yours in? Do you mind my asking?
I use it. I got it off of Amazon. It's the OXO cold brew maker. And it's this big, looks like this giant, it's like probably this big, kind of goes down. And then down here, it's like almost like an hourglass. And it's got a beaker that you put underneath it to catch the coffee. And it'll make like probably 6, 7 servings, depending on how much you drink. I like mine, like you, I like it pretty strong. So, I'll make, it'll probably last me 5 or 6 times before I have to redo it again. But, I pour that, and then I will add like a superfood creamer, and in that, which we have our own.
Oh, okay. So tell us what else you have. Anything you have that I would love to try that.
So we have this thing called Lifeboost Fuel, and this is basically, I took what I was doing anyway, buying a bunch of different ingredients and put it into one. So we have stick packs. We're going to move back to probably a scoop because I think it's easier. These are easier to travel, but most people aren't traveling. They're just scooping and throwing it in the coffee. So this is made out of C8 MCT oil. So MCT oil is medium chain triglyceride, and it is a short chain fat that basically gives you instant energy. That's what it's known for. Crosses the blood-brain barrier, it breaks down fast. It's instant energy for your body. So when you put it in coffee, it just amps up your coffee. So for me, I drink coffee while I work. It just helps me to be more productive. So I put C8 MCT oil, and there's MCT oil, then there's C8. C8's they basically distilled out the most effective molecule that doesn't cause digestive issues, because sometimes if people don't have the enzymes to process the fats right away, which you will develop it over time, but the first time you have MCT oil, you can have disaster pants, and nobody wants disaster pants, right?
Yes. Now, to clarify for some who, I know what MCT oil is, but it is what a lot of people would know is like the Bulletproof brand. That's MCT oil, and it's sort of like coconut oil, but it's a little different. That's right. Yeah,
it can be made from coconut or palm.
Okay.
Yeah, it's basically a distilled form of the top MCT or triglycerides in coconut oil. And then the C8 is the top level. So they pulled all the other stuff out and made that the highest. And that's one that's more beneficial for your brain.
Okay, let me ask you this, Dr. Charles. So it's in the Lifeboost Fuel that's in there. Okay. I'm going to be ordering that. Is it the same? Like if you were to measure out MCT oil and like the same calories and fat, even though it's in a powder form, it's the same composition.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that something you would recommend? I get up super early and I go to do reformer Pilates. I get up before 5. And I feel like sometimes I'll get dizzy. I've just been drinking regular coffee because I haven't wanted to break my fast, but I'm sort of getting over that. So would MCT oil or your fuel be a good thing to do if you're going to get up and work out before you eat?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Like if you're like, for me, like I intermittent fast, but I am not a purist when it comes to fasting. So like when I fast, it's like a coffee fast. So the other aspect of that is it's C8 MCT oil. It's a grass-fed collagen. Collagen's great for hair, skin, nails, gut health. I mean, there's so many great benefits of collagen. So it's those two combined. And then we have an immune booster in there called Epicor that just is like, proven to help give your immune system a little extra boost. So we have that in there as well. But yeah, I mean, I'll put that in there, and then I'll mix it with a heavy whipping cream, an organic heavy whipping cream. And I like that over butter. Butter has a tendency to raise cholesterol a little bit. Heavy whipping cream doesn't, and it doesn't have lactose in it. So it's not like milk. So
heavy whipping cream does not have lactose. I did not know that.
No, it's the cream pulled off the top, right? So there's no lactose in it, so it doesn't jack your stomach up. So anybody who's lactose intolerant can typically take heavy whipping cream and it won't bother them. Plus, it also has something around the molecules called a milk fat globule membrane, and that has all the immune properties in it. Milk doesn't have that because it's got stripped off, but heavy cream still has that. Okay,
that is amazing. And I can't wait to buy this. When are you going to have it in the scoop form? Because I take collagen. I take all of, occasionally we'll do MCT. That sounds like a one and done. I mean, that for coffee. So do you think you will at some point bring it in a scoop?
Yeah. So the next batch, so this will be the last batch we have in the packets. The next batch, which will probably be out in May, because right now with the supply chain issues, it's very hard to get raw ingredients.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, we're like pushing as fast as we can to get the next version of this done. But yeah, I just add that and I'll use heavy whipping cream. Now, if you cold brew, you can't add heavy whipping cream until after you. So this stuff, like whenever you do a creamer like this, it's better not to stir it. It's better just to throw it into a blender because you need to emulsify the fats or use those little frother things, right? You need something more powerful than stirring because the fats need to emulsify. You got to break it down, right? So if you blend it, like I'll just dump my coffee in, I'll dump this in, and then I'll blend it. I'll dump it over ice, then I'll add my heavy whipping cream. And it just gives you a lot of help. Don't be scared about the fat in it because these are all healthy fats and it's very good for your body. Okay. This sounds amazing. And I know that my Pilates teacher, who is so healthy, she brings a coffee that she's blended, I think in the little, bullet or
yeah. And she puts I believe she's told me before, and I've made it and it's wonderful. The MCT oil and some collagen, and she puts these a mushroom. I think it's by 4 Sigmatic.
Yeah.
Some mushrooms.
Hey guys.
Yeah. So she has that blend every morning. And I think that a lot of people are like y'all who are very into health and fitness, use coffee as a medium to just get healthier and put healthy things in it. So I'm really eager. I'm going to order that as soon as we get off. So that's Lifeboost Fuel. Yeah. What else do you have or that would you recommend?
Let me see. Well, I mean, we have a lot of different coffees, just like you said, flavor. We also want to do, so let me tell you something about flavor coffees. I bet you didn't know.
Okay.
And this was something I found out the hard way. And I was like, wait a second. So typically flavor coffees are blended coffees. All of our coffees are single origin, meaning they come from a single region or source. And it's a way to keep pure. A lot of coffees out there, if you ever see blend on a bag or they talk about blends, it's basically 2 different types of coffee that you blend together. And there's different reasons people do it. One of the reasons is to increase the profit margin, because you can take a superior bean and blend it with an inferior bean and create a blend. And you
Oh,
can say that it's, for instance, Kona coffee, which pure Kona coffee sells for like $50 a pound. That's the Hawaiian coffee. And so people will make Kona blends. So they take these expensive beans and blend them with like inferior beans.
mm,
And you can still use the Kona name. It's
mm-hmm,
not true Kona. It's a blend of Kona, right?
mm-hmm.
So
Oh,
that's kind of one of the little dirty secrets of the coffee industry. You see that a lot. But with flavored coffees, what they'll do a lot of times is they'll use a blend. It's inferior beans. And to flavor coffee, believe it or not, they use propylene glycol. You know what propylene glycol is?
I do not.
Antifreeze.
Oh my goodness. Okay, you're
So
kidding.
yeah, so and it's very prevalent in the food industry that people use this ingredient, and you would never know because it's not really talked about unless like you are roasting coffee. So it's very sticky, so it allows the flavors to stick on it. And then they'll use like artificial flavors and things to stick on the beans. So they put propylene glycol on to get the flavor to stick. And so that's how most flavored coffees are made. So we went the opposite approach. So we don't use inferior beans. We use the same exact beans that we have in our medium roast. So this is our medium roast, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So we use the same exact single origin beans for flavored coffees that we would use to sell here. Because we want a superior coffee bean. And then instead of using propylene glycol, we'll use ethanol, which is the way to think of it is like, when you're cooking, you use like an almond extract or something like that to like flavor things. It's the same principle. So it's an alcohol base, which gives it enough stickiness to hold the flavor on the beans.
Because ethanol is alcohol. It's like what's in wine.
It's organic alcohol.
Okay. So antifreeze. So what would be the bioaccumulative? Would there be a harsh one over time with someone who drank flavored coffee every day? I would assume so.
I would assume so. I mean, I haven't really dug into the research. My whole thing is like, I know it's toxic. It's not like something that I would not dip my finger in antifreeze and stick it in my mouth.
Wow.
So if I would not do that, I don't want it in my body.
Well, I'm very, very glad that you told me that because I had noticed, but I didn't know why, that flavored beans were shinier and they had a different consistency, whereas normal roast coffee beans are typically drier and just sort of slip through your hand. I had no idea. And if nothing else that anyone takes out of this podcast, that is very sobering about that that some companies are using antifreeze for
I mean,
flavored coffee,
like an industry standard type thing. So like once I was like, I don't, like I said, I'm very conscious of what I put in my body. And if I can just start eliminating all the little things like that, you're going to be better off over time, in my opinion.
Well, okay. Talk to us about how to get Lifeboost, what your best seller is, and what people might need to know on how the best way to order based on supply chain currently. Because one thing we don't want to do is fall in love with it and then realize we need some in a few days and not be able to get it.
The supply chain for the coffee is solid. When it comes to some of the flavors and stuff, we've had to change some things around, make things more seasonal, do like promotions for batches because it's very hard because we have like 39 flavors. It's insane.
Oh, you have so many. I've got a little bit of ADD. And when I was trying to decide, I thought this is like Disney World. There's something on every corner for anyone. It's amazing. I mean, I commend you all. There were flavors I've never heard of. They're amazing. Yeah. What's your best selling, just on that note, what is your best selling flavor?
Typically with best selling flavors, it's the standard ones, French vanilla, hazelnut.
Yeah.
But it's because people are very familiar with that. Caramel. We have a caramel macchiato. Creme Brulee is up there, actually. That was one that like my team actually pushed me to do.
That's right here.
I was like,
love it.
We'll do it.
Love it.
Cinnamon blueberry crumble is a super popular one. That's my wife's favorite. So
so she
absolutely loves that.
What does it taste like? A cinnamon blueberry muffin or?
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow.
So she's monopolized our coffee grinder with that one.
Yeah.
The other one that's kind of super unique is pistachio.
Oh,
And
okay.
it's really good. It's good. It's surprisingly good. You're like, huh, that actually was, and that
Does
coffee.
it
Yeah.
does it taste similar? Okay, because I love pistachio ice cream, but it's very heavy in the almond flavor. Is that how yours is, or?
It's a stronger nut flavor, but most of our flavors are like they're not overpowering. So like
Okay.
I don't think this is overpowering. Plus, if you've made coffee long enough, you know how to like change the ratio of the water
Yeah.
to bring it down or increase the the amount of grounds that you use to bring it up. There's all different ways to manipulate. And that's the other thing. Like whenever you like our coffee, especially because it's super smooth and the standard has set to be bitter and acidic, when they have ours, they think it's too watery. So
Well, and
you got to adjust to find your perfect balance point, right?
I did have to adjust for this, but I will say, and I tell my people, my family, always err on the side of going too strong, because you're going to add, unless you are drinking it black and you just like it a certain way.
Yeah.
I really get so strong because I add about half of the nut milk to mine.
Yeah.
So you do have to experiment. Now, I will say my favorite of the regular brews was the darker, but what's your best seller? The medium?
The medium, you know what? It's neck and neck between the medium roast here and the dark roast. And part of that is, most people don't drink flavored coffees because notoriously a lot of them aren't that good.
Yeah.
Because of the reasons why I explained. And so we lead with like when during our promotions and our marketing, we lead with the standard roasts, like the decaf, the light, the medium, the dark, and those are our best sellers. And then like we'll start showing them some of the flavors and let people try them and see what they think, and then people fall in love. And we have a very big cult following of people who love flavored coffees.
Yes. And I will say you've got a great Instagram, and I'm going to put every way to link to you. I'm going to put all of this in the show notes, and is there anything else you would like to say to those who have not tried you yet, but are want to? I can just say, I love it. And we're huge fans, and I've got a plate, even though this is about how I order. We've got 2 bags left. I'm really a little behind, but I'm going to hop on and place my next order, and I'm getting the Lifeboost fuel. I'm excited about that. But, so you just tell people just maybe to try some of the standard first. And what do you recommend? I'll tell you, we have a coffee grinder, and I've gotten bean and ground. I really your ground coffee is as fresh as when I grind. I mean, I really can't tell a huge difference.
Good. Yeah,
it's very fresh.
Yeah.
But what do you recommend? I mean, do you grind yours every time?
I grind mine every time. So the ground coffee, it's the way it's ground mainly for drip, right? So a good, because most people will use a drip coffee maker. It can work on French press. The finer the grind, typically it's a little more strong because of the surface area. If you're doing a French press, you want to do a little more coarse grind. And if you're cold brewing, you want a coarse grind. Because I've tried the ground coffee and the cold brew maker. And if you're doing a large batch, like what will happen is it will just do this, and it takes forever for the coffee to finally like distill into the pitcher. It's very frustrating sitting there watching it. So
okay. Well, now I need to ask
mine.
Well, okay. So I need to ask you, because what I do is I put 4 cups of water and 1 cup of the ground, but the cold, but I leave the stem up and I stir it so it's all floating in there. So I bet I could.
Yeah, with the way that you do it, you're perfectly fine doing the ground, because when you push it down, it basically pushes all the grounds down, and the water and the coffee will come to the top, and you can just pour it out. That's fine. The way mine's built is I have the water and it drips through all the grinds into the beaker. So if it's the smaller the grind or the finer the grind, it will like kind of gel together, and it won't let the coffee come or the water come through as fast. So it just takes a much longer period of time.
Okay. So just finally, you would recommend for those who want to do mainly cold brew, just the already ground is fine because it's a little coarse.
So our ground is more fine than it is coarse.
Okay. Well, see, I considered it a little because I had been drinking some almost espresso before that. So this one, but compared to normal ground coffee, yours is more fine.
Yeah. So there's like extra fine, there's like fine, there's like medium, and I think there's like medium coarse and then like extra coarse or whatever. If you look at the, your coffee grinder. But I mean, it will work. For me, like I just am so used to like grinding. So not to say that I don't ever pop open a bag of already ground, because I'll do that too. But
well, it's all excellent. And I just love it. And I'm so grateful that you took time to share all the things with us today. And I will link to how to buy the coffee. And Dr. Charles, you were so kind to just come and share. And I wish you continued success as the #1 fastest growing coffee in the world.
Thank you.
Or in the United States, at least. Sorry. Europe might, who knows? Europe always tends to trump us in every area, but who knows? Fast food. But well, thank you so much. And I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day.